What? You wanna battle me?
Welcome back to another J Squad mountain biking video. Today we're going to be reviewing two $750 bikes versus a Walmart bike that cost only $100. So first we're going to go over the components. A couple things you need to notice is the brakes. The brakes on the Walgoose from Walmart, they're rim brakes. The $750 bikes from a local shop, they have hydraulic disc brakes, which are a big difference. Another thing are the shocks. These are regular old, I think they're called Zoom shocks, but just generic. They barely have any travel, and they say nothing about what they're used for. So you could basically go down a downhill track if you were dumb enough to do that. Now, these shocks, these are Suntour. You can lock and open the suspension. You can adjust the preload and adjust the reload, how fast you want it to respond. You also, there's a sticker on the back of the shock that tells you only for cross-country use, no downhill use. Another thing is the quick release on the tires, and over here, all we have, they're just bolted on. So you cannot remove the tires on this bike for quick and easy transport. One thing you should notice is the seats. They're pretty much the same on all three bikes. These are just more comfortable for you to sit on the better quality bikes. This is just a Walgoose, but it still has pretty good padding. I'm not sure how comfortable it is, so we're going to test that out. The derailleur on the Walgoose is not original because the original one broke for everyday riding just down a driveway. These are 24-inch tires. They're very, very skinny. I'd imagine the rims would bend super easily. The tread on them does not last long at all. Another thing is, this bike has a kickstand. Neither of these do. So we're going to take a look at the stem now. You can tell this is a really thick, bulky stem, and the bar is held on in 4 places here, so your bar is not going anywhere. As for the cheat bike, it's a really flimsy stem, and the bars can just flip down easily. Not good for mountain biking. The grips on the $100 bike, there are Walgoose brand, just to save money. They also have this little turny thingy that you shift with. Your hands get too sweaty to shift with, and you shift when you don't mean to, or shift too many gears. That's one thing I really hate about this bike. Now, our nicer bikes, they have little paddle shifters right here. If your hands are sweaty, it's still easy to shift, and you can shift to the right gear. As we said earlier, this is not the original derailleur, but one thing you should notice, if you have a Walmart bike, it will probably shift really bad, and that's because, as you see on the mountain bike, the frame and this piece right here are separate. That is if you were to take a fall, then your derailleur would not break, but this piece would either bend or snap, saving your derailleur, so then all you have to buy is this, and they also make tools that you can fix them. Whereas the cheap bike, there is no place to add a new one. It's just attached to the frame. So when this bends, your shifting is just going to be like garbage forever. So we don't want to bore you too much with the parts of the bike, because we could go on and on. So we're going to go into the testing.
Alright guys, so first thing we're going to do is an endo test. And to do that, we're going to start off with the Walgoose. So as y'all can see, the Walgoose can't really endo because of its really bad rim. Alright guys, so now that we've seen how good the Walgoose does, also known as Walgoose, we're going to try it out on the $750 bike. Okay guys, so as we can see here, the $750 bike with the hydraulic disc brakes works a lot better. Alright guys, so if you see this dog in the video, this is our Trail Pup 7. Alright guys, so what we've done is we've put a rubber band around this shock, and whenever he hits the jump, wherever the rubber band stops, that's where it'll travel to. So that's what we're going to do to prove it. And Jay, you got anything to say?
Yeah. The bigger the channel gets, the better the camera gear gets. Like and subscribe.
So as y'all can see, we have officially made it work. The rubber band has made it about 3/4 of the way up, so that's some pretty good travel.
It gave a pretty good cleaning to the fork, because all the grease and gunk is on the rubber band.
Guys, so Jay is now attaching a rubber band to the Walgoose, and he is gonna go jump this one too.
Notice how small the fork is right here, and you can tell at the farthest point this shock has ever been pushed down, not even half of the way up the full shock there. So we're gonna see what we get out of this jump. Even the geometry of this bike is just kind of sketchy. It almost feels like a hybrid or a road bike. As you can see, the rubber band went about maybe a third of the way up, and based on the sound, it sounded like it bottomed out. So I'm not even sure if it's possible to get to right here. As you can tell, that is very little travel. One thing I have to say really quick is shout out to my brother for letting us use this bike. So now we're gonna do another brake test. This is just gonna be the back brake. We're gonna be applying as much back brake as we can. I'm gonna try to get the same speed to make this accurate, but when I get to this line right here, I'm gonna apply the brakes and see how long it takes to stop.
Okay guys, as you can see, we did start off at the line like he said, and there's only one small skid that's about a foot long right here, and a tiny one at the end right there.
To make this test even a little bit fairer, considering this bike has hydraulic disc brakes, if anything, I'm going to try to go faster. And I was going on the Walgoose.
Here he comes. As we can see, going twice as fast, the $750 bike has left a nice skid all the way across and a little bit further. So we are going to be wheeling this, and for both bikes to be fair, we're going to have them both in 6th gear. So here we go. Well, we can see that the Mongoose is a little heavy for wheeling and not very good. Now we are going to be doing the $750 bike, and it is in 6th gear.
Action. Meet the trail cat.
Okay, so now we are going to do an agility test, and we have 3 water bottles here, and we are going to weave in and out. We are going to start off with the Walmart bike.
So not terrible. There's not going to be a huge difference here, but the thin tires on that bike don't really help.
Alright, so one thing I did notice with that, you have on the Walmart bike, you do have to go pretty slow to get it to be pretty agile and go through the bottles. So now we're going to go to the $750 bike.
So tell me, Jake, how did it feel?
Well, this bike you could go a lot faster, and it's lighter and easier to deal with and turn because there's better components on it. So if you were doing agile stuff, you probably want to get the $750 bike.
Okay, Jake, is this bike worth the extra penny or 75,000 pennies?
The $750 bike is well worth its money. The Walgoose, I would say you're better off to save up a little bit more and buy a nice quality bike because the Walgoose doesn't handle very well and the components break very easily.
So, Jake, if you're not willing to pay $750 for a bike, is there anything you can use this bike for?
Well, if you just want to go on a nice little cruise around your street or on a community center where there's a gravel path, this would be good for that. But this is not a good mountain bike.
Does Walmart have the right to call this a mountain bike?
No. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. The more subscribers we get, the better the camera gear gets. And if y'all want to see how to make this wonderful ramp right here, that's very solid, go watch our other video on how to build a kicker ramp.
Come on, Clay, we're trying to video here. Could you please go away? Finally, the video is over. Time to go joyride.